Okay, we're going to continue working on this meetup system with Blazor and the vertical slice architecture. And in this video, we are going to work on register as a organizer or become an organizer. In the actual meetup.com, there is this button, start a new group. So this introduces a group concept here, which means that as a user or organizer, you are able to create a group, potentially multiple groups, and each group may have different topics. So for example, you can create a meditation group, and you may create some other social clubs, for example, a chess group. Right? You can have multiple groups. But in our case, I don't want to implement such a complicated case. I just want to enable the user register as an organizer so that the organizer can create different events. So let's go ahead and try to do that. And what I want to do is to, similar to meetup.com, I want to have this button on the top, perhaps also on the right hand side over here. So I'm going to put a button over here. Let's start by doing that. And let's call it become a member or something like that. So that button is on the top bar. So therefore, let's go to shared and then let's go to main layout. And you can see that the top bar is here. We didn't extract it out yet. I don't know whether we need to, but I just want to add something to the run at the right hand side, right? And for that, we can go to login status and copy. Let's copy this one, and then let's go back to, let's close this one. Go back over here, and this is what we can do to see whether we can have a button that looks pretty good. Become a organizer. And so instead of a link, let's try a primary. So let's run the application now and see whether the button displays pretty well or not. Okay, so become an organizer. This doesn't look pretty good. The button, oh, it's because we need a UL. So I think we forgot about the UL outside. So let's actually copy this and go back to the main layout and paste the UL over here. And now let's run it again. I don't know whether the hot reload works or not. Okay, it seems to be working this time. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Anyways, so I like this look and feel of the button, but I think that we have a button that's too close to this login status component. So what we can do is we can add a margin on the end, right? At the end. So I'm going to say me, maybe let's try 4 and see whether that's enough or not. Coming back over here, I should have tried hot reload again. Okay. So we have a pretty good gap over here. Right, now we can extract this into a different slice. Now I can go ahead and create another feature over here. And that's going to be a folder. I'm going to call it become organizer. And then I'm going to extract this into a component. Get over here. No, not this one. This is shared. So let's go to become organizer and create a new razor component. I'm going to call it become organizer component. And then I'm going to paste this over here. All right. Now go back to main layout. And I'm going to say become organizer and close that. And now I'm going to delete the namespace, but do a control dot to put a using statement on the top. Now we can work with this become organizer component over here. So in order to allow the user to become an organizer, we need to make the user log in if the user hasn't logged in. And then we need to make sure the role of the user is a organizer. So let's go to the data folder and let's go to entities and let's take a look at the user. So we already have a role property here. This represents whether the user is attendee or a organizer, right? And in the authentication endpoint method over here, you can see that currently when we try to create a user record over here, we are hard coding, not hard coding, but almost hard coding an attendee role, right? So we need to make this more flexible so that depending on which URL that is hitting, right, the user is hitting, we can set it to be attendee or a organizer. So therefore, we want to make this authentication endpoints more flexible. And to do that, I think the simplest way, so let me actually close this. You can see we have this map get, and this is going to the authentication slash provider, and then go to challenge. So this leads the user to Google account page, right? And then it will redirect to over here in order to create the user record. Now, the easiest way to implement becoming an organizer is to duplicate both of this, right? But with a different URL. Perhaps we can add a slash organizer, something like that, in order to make the behavior slightly different, right? But for this method, right, for this lambda expression over here, a lot of things are here but can be extracted, right? We don't want to duplicate this whole logic. So what I would do is, you see, first of all, here we are redirecting to the home page, and at the bottom redirecting to the home page, right? And we have a to do here for error message. I think, see here, the reason why we have this potentially showing error message is because we don't have the claims here. And that's a pretty weird situation. We don't even want to let the user know what is happening. So in that case, we can just safely delete that, right? Delete that else statement. And we can just use this to redirect the user to the home page anyways, right? And the user will have to log in because the user won't be able to access any protected page. So therefore, we cleaned up that a little bit. And what we can extract is this part, right? So this whole thing can be extracted out to be a reusable helper method. So let's do a control RM. Extract the method, encounter the following, not all code return. Do you still want to proceed? Did I select the correct? Yeah, I think this is correct. I'm going to select this whole thing and try to do it again. Control RM, right? Extract, and then I'm going to say yes. And method name, I'm going to call it handle sign in callback. This could be a good name, right? And you can see that it automatically creates parameters, which is a context and context directory. And then over here, we don't actually need to return here, right? We can just do this, okay? Just do the await. And then, of course, this, we don't need it anymore. I'll just delete it, clean it up a little bit. Now, what we can do is, like I said, we're going to duplicate this. And this is for attendee, right? So this is attendee authentication, right? And this is going to be organizer authentication, and automatically generate this comments for me. That's pretty good. So let's go over here, and I think for organizer, I can just say a slash organizer just to make a difference, right? Organizer. I think my spelling is correct. And then over here, I can do sign in dash callback slash organizer as well, right? But here we have to make a difference here. We want this to, first of all, this one goes to the new URL, which is this one. Okay, so let's copy this and paste it over here. And then the handle sign in callback. We need to add a parameter at the end. Over here, we can say this is organizer, and so boolean, right? And default value is false. So by default, it's not an organizer. And then if this is an organizer, what we're going to do is we're going to change this so that if organizer is true, we're going to say shared helper dot organizer row. Otherwise, we're going to use the attendee row Okay, so this is pretty good. And then we can go to the top over here. So this is the organizer endpoints, right? And for that, we're gonna say is organizer is true. Okay? And we're gonna keep this as default, which is false. Okay, so now we have these two sets of endpoints, and we want the login button, external login button, to hit this different things or different URLs. So in order to do that, let's go to the external login buttons component over here. You can see that we're using this external login button at this moment. We're only use it on the login for the login functionality, right? When we trigger that from the login status component. But we're gonna also use this on the become organizer component. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna just do it right now so that you are not confused why I have to change it. Right? So let's go over here. And what I'm gonna do is actually, let's go to the login status component over here, and we're gonna copy this. Okay, actually, I'm gonna copy this whole thing, and then let's close this, come back to here, and then I'm gonna replace this. Okay, so we have a login dialog, right? And when this button is being clicked on, right, this is a button. So I'm gonna say on click, and here I'm gonna say the method name is become organizer, and then I'm gonna just create this become organizer method. And if login is not now, so it's trying to do something here. I think what I would do is this logic has to be, if the user has not logged in, then we display this this dialog, right? If the user has already logged in, then we only just need to make sure that we update the user so that the role becomes organizer instead of attendee. Okay, so therefore, we're going to inherit from the base component, which is our base component. And because in the base component, what we can do is we can say if base dot is authenticated, right? If it's false, then so we're going to use login dialog to show this, right? Show the login dialog, and then the user can click on the button to go to Google, go to Facebook, whatever you implement in the external login buttons component. Currently, we only have one button. Okay, and then over here, this is the place where the user has already logged in, but the user is not a organizer but wants to become an organizer. Then this is we're gonna try to hit the second endpoints, right? So hit the second authentication endpoint. How do we do that? We can simply just navigate. So let's dependency inject. So inject navigation manager, that's correct. And then we're gonna come over here and say navigate to, and where do we want to go to? We want to go to sign in. It's trying to sign up organizer. This is not the endpoints. So let's go over here. I think we have some typo over here, but that's fine. We're just going to use this. See, this is not a sign in, this is a sig in, but still, I'm not going to fix the typo. Copy this and paste it over here. Okay, so we have sign in callback organizer. We don't need the $sign here because we're not going to do a string interpolation. Okay, now we need to force the load. Therefore, we're going to do this. Okay, so we're taking the user to the authentication endpoint, which is this one. And then we're going to handle the sign in callback with a organizer set to true. And when that happens, right, we are updating the role to the organizer role. All right, so this is new user, right? New user is easy. So what about here? Already existing user, are we going to update the organizer role? Well, we will have to, but not in every single case, right? So if so let's see, it actually automatically generates the code, and let's read. So if we are already a organizer, right, and which means that I mean, if we wanted to be an organizer, right, and the role is not, we're not an organizer, so this means that we're not a organizer at this point, which means we're an attendee. In this case, we want to update it. But if we don't want to be an organizer and we used to be an organizer, then it tried to change it to attendee. This is not correct. So once we are a organizer, we always an organizer. But an organizer, you can also, as an organizer, you can also join other people's events. Right? But we don't want to update the user again to be a regular attendee. That's wrong logic. So here, we just need to make sure that we have this if statement here, and then we can update the user, okay? All right, so coming back over here, we're hitting the second endpoint, second authentication endpoint as an organizer. This makes sure that we update or create a user properly as an organizer. Otherwise, if the user hasn't been authenticated, then we have to use the login dialog to show the login dialog. And then the user is going to use this logic here. Right, this logic. This is inside the external login buttons of here. It's going to go over here. But currently, it's only going to the /authentication/provider. But what we need to do is that in the case when the user is clicking on the Become an Organizer button, then it should go to the second set of endpoints. Right? So therefore, we are going to create a parameter here. And I'm going to call it is for organizer. Is for organizer. So by default, this is false because that's just the default value of Boolean. So if this external login button is for creating an organizer, then we're gonna force the user to go to the organizer URL, right? So when I say if is for organizer, then it goes to, it knows everything. So sign in, but we don't need the provider. It's correct? No, this is not correct. So this is not correct. It has to be authentication, right? Authentication /provider/organizer or organizer, the typo, I don't know. So we don't need the return here. We just take the user, we just force the user. And then if we're not an organizer, then we're gonna force the user to go to the original URL, right? Without the /organizer. I think that's it. And what we want to do is to come over here to the Become Organizer over here. And we need to set this is for organizer to true, a Boolean or not. Yeah, represents a Boolean. Good. Okay. So now we can give it a try to see whether we can turn ourselves into a organizer. Okay, let's run the application. Okay, so we see this Become an Organizer button and organizer. I think we have a typo over here. Let's go to the top. So become an organizer. Is this the correct spelling? So I'm gonna say organizer. Is this the correct spelling? Yeah, it is the correct spelling. Okay. So I'm gonna do a hard reload, and now it becomes the correct one. So become an organizer. Click on it. So this takes me to this workflow. Okay, I think what I would do is I'm going to actually run it with debug mode. I want to make sure that everything goes in the way that I have imagined. And by the way, let's stop this. In this function, we don't need async. We're just going to do a void. Okay, let's fix that green screen line and let's run it again. So what we'll do is we're going to set a breakpoint over external login buttons, and let's set it over here. And also let's go to endpoints over here, and we're expecting this to be hit first of all, right? And then we're expecting this to be hit, right? So let's run the application debug mode, making sure that everything works properly. Okay, so I'm gonna click on this become an organizer, and I see this dialog, right? And this is our code. So let's click on login with Google, and then we are here. And is organizer is true, which means we're going to hit this endpoint. So I'm going to just, first of all, step into this. Okay, so this is gonna be hit. I'm gonna continue. And then I'm expecting the endpoints to be hit, but for some reason, I don't see it's happening. What is happening? Nothing is happening. So I'm gonna go over here again and continue again. Okay, so this time it's much better. I think there's some, Visual Studio has some problems over there. But you can see that it comes to this endpoint, and then it's going to go over here, which is this one, right? So let me continue. And I'm gonna select one account, which is user number 1, okay? And I think we're having a problem over here that in this, you see this is not being triggered. I think probably this one is triggered. So let's try again. Now I'm gonna log out, and then I'm gonna click on become an organizer, log in with Google, and it goes over here. I'm gonna actually remove the first breakpoint. Now it goes to here, and I'm hoping this breakpoint is being hit, but I also have a breakpoint here. So let's see which breakpoint is going to be hit. I'm gonna select this one, and you can see it's the first one that is being hit. So maybe I should set a breakpoint here and try it again. Let's run. Okay, I need to log out and try to do become an organizer. Click on this, and then it takes me over here and takes me to challenge. Click on one of the users. Now it takes me here, sign in, callback. Why does it take me over here? Not too sure why. And then let's execute this. You can see that we're still a attendee. As you can see, this is not actually working. Something is wrong that causing this is not being called. So we expect this to be called, but this one is being called. So there's something wrong there. Let's go to program.cs. I think we changed something over here. This is the reason why, right? So let's set a breakpoint over here. Now let's log out again and click on this, log back in, and you can see that we are setting this redirect URL correctly. Now we select this. Now we go to the on ticket received, right? On ticket received. Okay, so this URL is being hard-coded here, which may not be ideal. So let's take a look at the context. And you can see the return URL is /sign-in callback organizer. So we should use, instead of hard-coding this, we should use the return URL from the context. So let's go to context.return URL. This should be good. All right, let's run it again. Okay, let's click on this and go to Google. Well, first of all, this is being hit, which is correct. Now let's go to Google, click on the user. Coming back over here, now you can see that we are actually hitting the correct endpoint. And then this is set to true. So therefore, once we finish this, we expect the user become a organizer. Now let's go to try to query this user. Select this and run it. Now you can see it's already updated to organizer. So that's very good. It's correct. So now what I need to do is to come back here is, here it still shows become an organizer, although I'm already a organizer, right? So I have to fix this problem. So how do I fix this problem? Stop debugging and let's go to base component, which is inside the shared components folder. Let's go over here. I want to have a way to tell whether the user is a organizer or not, right? So I'm gonna say is user organizer and see, okay, so it generated it for me. So it's basically getting the claims, right? And I think this is wrong. So the type, oh, this is correct. Okay, so it's searching within the claims row. If the value is organizer, oh no, not organizer. If the value is, so we have a shared helper. It's called shared helper, right? And organizer row, yeah. So if the value is organizer row, then this is a organizer, right? So we can use this property. We can use this property over here, right over here. So I'm gonna say if base dot is organizer, right? If it's organizer, then we're going to display something else. But if it's not organizer, then we're going to do this. If it's organizer, I'm going to show another button, which means I'm going to duplicate this. Let's go over here. And this, perhaps we don't need it. So remove this events over here, and the name, I'm going to call it manage events. Right, so now you are a organizer. You can click on this manage events to go to the managing your created events page. Right, we have that /org/events. Right, we have that page. Now I'm gonna have a href, and this is going to go to /org/events page. Right, so let's run the application now. And let's see whether we get this one replaced by a different button. Now we have to log out because in the claims there is no, I don't know. Let's log out and try to see it again. Okay, so I'm gonna click on become an organizer, and then I'm gonna go over here, click on this one, and now it's still showing this. This is weird. So if it's organizer, then manage events. So which means that there's something wrong with this property here. Let's examine. Why is that? Let's set a breakpoint over here. I don't see anything wrong with the code, to be honest. Okay, so let's take a look. The claims. So what do we have over here? Quick watch. Oh, it's null. We don't have the claims. So that means still there's something wrong inside this handle signing callback over here. So if it's an organizer, we have this. Oh, here we forgot to add the row claim. So go over here and existing user row. Okay, so this is good. This should fix our problem. We're getting this dialog. That's because it's trying to prompt us to save the SQL query. So I'm not going to save the SQL query. So every time I have it, I just ignore it. Now let's take a look. Log out again and log back in. Log in with Google. Go to our user. This, you see, already showing me the manage events. Okay. The problem is that we need to make sure we have a policy that only organizers can access the events pages. Right, the manage events pages. So for that, let's go ahead and try to create a policy. Let's go to program.cs over here, and let's go to add authorization method. Okay, it's going to be a very simple policy. I'm going to say options.add policy, and then I'm going to call it organizer policy. I'm going to call it organizer only policy, right? Organizer only. And then we're going to require the claim, actually require row, not require claim. I'm going to require row. And yes, we're requiring the organizer row to be here. Okay. So now I'm going to just, I'm going to copy this organizer only policy. And then I'm going to go to the different slices. So first of all, the create event slice over here. Getting over here, I'm going to say attribute and authorize attribute. Authorize attribute. Control dot to import namespace, and policy equals organizer only. Let's make sure it is. Okay, there's something wrong with the IntelliSense. Okay, so this is good. I'm going to copy this and also go to different other places where we need to. So for example, this one added event as well. So let's go to this bottom over here and paste it here. And again, import namespace, save it. Now we also have this view created events page over here. And let's go to the bottom over here and do a control dot to import namespace. Okay, so we're protecting all of these organizer pages with the organizer only policy. Only when a user is a organizer can the user access these pages. Otherwise, it's going to go to the default access denied page, which we created in the previous video, I believe. Okay, so now let's run the application again and try to see whether we're doing it correctly or not. We're still looking at this page and it's working because we do have the organizer role. Now, if I log out and log back in with a different user, which is user number 3, and it should, well, I have to manually go there. So I'm going to say org event, right? Org/event. Then it says organize access denied, right? And if I go to, let's test all of them, right? So /events/create, I also don't have the access. Now the last one is added. So org added, I believe it's like this, which is here. We have an example over here and it says access denied. Okay, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. So of course I can choose to become an organizer and then I will be able to access the page. So let's try to see. So now I have already become an organizer, right? I'm already become an organizer. And if I go to manage events, I can see all of these events. That's also wrong, right? Because if you are an organizer, you can only see the events that you created. And the reason why we can see all of that, first of all, because on the view events page, which is exactly this page, right? We are using the service here, get events, and we're getting all of the events. We're getting all of the events. So we have to modify this to only get the events according to the user ID. So I'm gonna say get events by creator ID, right? And then I'm gonna pass in the creator ID as a string. Why do I pass in as a string? Well, I'll let you know soon. Okay, now over here, I'm gonna say if I'm gonna actually convert it, right? So I'm gonna say try parse and then str, and it's actually creating everything for me. So if I do have a creator ID, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this, cut this over here, and then well, I'm gonna use the AI fetch events created by the user. Okay, let's use this comment and see whether it can generate the code for me. Okay, context.events where organizer ID equals. So we do have a organizer ID in the event equals creator ID, and that's correct. Okay, this looks pretty good. And we have something going on here, right? We need to make sure we're doing similar stuff. So which means that I'm gonna have a parenthesis here. And also, I'm going to say, well, I guess the easiest way is to copy this and paste it over here and then delete this. And now I'm going to copy this, cut that, paste it over here, and I'm going to delete this part. So in the case we don't have a creator ID, then we just return an empty list. All right. Now I'm going to use this new method instead of the old method in the component. Let's scroll down over here, and then we're going to use this new method. And over here, this, you can see that this one inherits from base component. So therefore we do know the user ID. So I'm passing the user ID, right? The currently signed in user ID, which is a creator ID. So it's passed in here. So therefore this will give me only the events that is created by this user, right? Nothing else. And then of course, when we create the user, we also need to make sure we feed the correct user ID. So where is the create event? Over here. So this is the one. And then we are creating with a view model. So this is good. This means that it's very easy to fix this. So let's say underscore, and then we provide the user ID. Do we have a user ID? Is it creator ID or is it organizer ID? Yeah, organizer ID equals base.user ID. And it doesn't like it. So I'm going to do a parse. Good. Now let's go to this thing and let's select all of the events. So select start from events, and I'm going to run this. And as you can see, currently all of the organizer ID is 1. Okay, that's 1. And let's run the application and see what we get. Okay, so there's nothing here on this page anymore, right? Because I have login with user number 3. So let's try to log in again. Okay, log in. I'm going to log in with user number 3, which is the first user in my Google account page. Now, if I go to manage events, I don't see anything. But if I log out and try to log in again with the third one, which is the user first. Now, if I go to manage events, I see all of the events because all of them are created by me. Okay. Now, what I can do is I'm going to log back in again. I'm sorry about this back and forth. I'm going to go to user number 3. And then, of course, here I don't see any events, but I'm going to create one. Okay. I'm going to say let's say number 23. And here I'm going to change this to perhaps 06. And this one to 06 as well. And this one, I'm going to say maybe 7. So 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, capacity, I'm going to say 60. And this is an in-person event. Place is here. I'm going to select a cover image. Let's use this Meetup logo. All right, let's click on the create event. So now you can see in this list, there's only one event. So I'm going to go over here. Just only one event, right? There's only one event. But if I log out, log back in, and I'm going to the third one, which is user number 1. I see the newly created event by another user, but if I go to manage events, I don't see that new event, right? I can only see my events. So the behavior is correct. The behavior is correct. Now we are having another problem. So let's say that I go over here, right? So which means I can update my event. But if I copy this and log out, and then log back in with another user, which is the first user. Now, if I go to manage events, of course, I can manage my own events. But what if I change this to 15, which is this number 15 belongs to the first user, right? Now I hit this. I'm able to look at SQL discussion, and I'm able to update it. Let's say I change the address to number 2, and then I click on update. And although I can't see this, but I can still use the same trick. I'm going to just modify the ID. And now you can see number 2 is here. So which means I actually updated other people's events. So this is absolutely not acceptable. So how do I fix this? So I remember we did have another policy, authorization policy, and this is same user policy. Let's see whether we can use this. Right? So this requires that user ID. Let's look at the user ID from the URL. We can't use this policy. We have to create another policy because this policy is comparing the user ID in the claims with the user ID of in the URL, right? But what we are trying to compare is again the user ID in the claims, which represents the login user ID. And we have to compare that with the organizer ID in the event. This has nothing to do with the event. So what we have to do is actually on that page, because we're trying to protect the added event page, which is this one, right? And we're trying to verify that the event that corresponds to this event ID has the organizer ID. And that organizer ID is the same ID as the login user ID, which is the authenticated user ID. So what we can do here is that, here you can see that we get this event view model, and we can verify it right afterwards. Because this is a special authorization logic, we can write it within this component or we can extract it out. But I feel like there's nothing wrong writing this special authorization logic here directly inside the component. So I'm going to say validate creator. So basically here, this method needs to do validation. So validate that authenticated user is the creator of the event, right? And maybe with this comment, it can help me to do something. So this is not created by, this is the organizer ID. And then here we have to use the user ID from the base class. So base dot, so this is the login user ID. And is this string? So this is a string, this is the organizer ID, a toString from here. So if this part equals to the right hand side, it means that the user is the creator, right? So we're gonna do a validation right here. I think we don't even need to return this. I'm gonna do a void and say validate, just call it validate creator, and then we don't have to return. And I'm gonna just say this: if the organizer ID is not equal to it, right? If they don't equal, that means the user doesn't have the right to actually update the event. Therefore, we're going to navigate the user to /account something. What do we have here in the access denied component? It's /account/access denied. Right? This would be fine. So we're gonna just call this validate creator method right here before we do a state has changed. Okay, now I'm gonna run the application and see what we get. Okay, so we have this, and I'm gonna log in as my user number 3. I want to see what events do I have. I have meetup number 23, right? This meetup logo is my event, and I don't have access to any other event. So I'm gonna say /org/event/edit number 15. So number 15 is the SQL event. So I'm gonna try to do that, hit enter, and then I'm kicked out to the access denied. And it says you do not have permission to view this page, which is very accurate, right? But I am able to go to my own event, and I'm able to do any kind of update right here in my own event, and I can click on the update button, and I should be able to see the changes. See, I'm able to see the changes, right? I can go back, I can go to my event, and I can see the changes over here as well. And I believe we are good with this change, and we enable user to register as an organizer, and we are protecting organizers pages, and we are connecting events with organizer ID as well. So everything that related to registration of the organizer is implemented already, I believe. And if we miss something, we're gonna implement. Okay, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.